You know, we want to talk about something today that's probably the most exciting way to ite fish, and some of those times that it's probably the most effective ways to catch some bigger fish through the ice. So many anglers don't fish shallow enough. So one, we're going to talk about fishing shallow water. Generally speaking, some of the biggest fish and most aggressive fish in any system are obviously going to be where the food is at. So many times that food is shallow and these fish go overlooked and these guys completely miss the opportunity at these shallow fish. So number one, we're going to start off with some shallow water. I have a weed line running right down this shore. I just drilled some holes over there, got a couple more holes here, and I know that weed line's right here in 6 foot. So we're going to set up on top of this. Now, so many times in our fisheries, as we get ice capped, the entire water system calms down. You don't have wind action. You don't have as much pressure down there. Generally speaking, the inlets and the exits are usually running about the same flow. So you don't get a lot of dirty water. And a lot of times it's the clearest water of the entire year. So we're going to talk about sight fishing and sitting right here and actually drilling a hole and watching these fish as you catch them. Now, the biggest thing is you have to have a shelter to do this. We have a dark shelter, and so many anglers, when they drill a hole and they do this, they're staring down the hole. And the problem when you're leaning over, staring down that hole, number one, you get a horrible backache. So we want to avoid that terrible backache. But number two, how many times are anglers staring down that hole, they get a bite, and you go to set the hook and you about hit yourself in the face? It doesn't lead to a successful day of catching fish because you're in an awkward position, you're sore, and it just doesn't lead to being more successful on the ice. So we're going to talk about a system that we use that helps us land more fish at the end of the day. So I take my auger, I want the hole that I'm fishing in right here on that weed line. So there's a perfectly vertical hole in which I'm going to fish in. Now I'm going to spin my shelter around. I got my flasher graph that I've been using to find depth. We'll set that down. And now I'm going to set my shelter about where I want to fish. I'm going to sit there and fish in that hole. So now I move that back, and I'm actually going to use my auger. I'm going to tilt it at an angle, and I'm going to drill an angled hole to where when I sit, I can sit upright, rod in hand, in normal fishing position, drop that line straight down the vertical hole to where it's in the fishable position, and I can sit normal and look down the angled hole and watch my presentation and literally watch the fish come in and take this bait. So number one, I know exactly what jig movement to do. Number two, I can watch the fish. It just leads to a more successful day because you can really read the fish, understand the fish, and just put the whole entire pattern together to be more successful. So there you have it. I got a straight hole, an angled hole. I literally set up right here. My angle's right. I'm going to fish down that front hole, look down this hole. Guys, I'm going to see the fish. It's exciting. Great way to get new anglers involved. And more importantly, I learn about jig movement. I learn about fish activity, and I catch more fish when I'm out on the ice. I'm going to catch some fish right now.